Crypto Junkie merch, Crypto Junkie merch, Crypto Junkie merch, Crypto Junkie merch, hey.
What's up, Crypto Junkies? Jay coming at you with another whiteboard video. I know it's been a while. So we're gonna talk about portfolio. We're rolling into Q4 of 2018. This video is shot September 3rd. I know it's still Q3 of 2018, and we're gonna talk portfolio strategy and really what I'm doing there, which it's changed a lot since this channel started. It's changed a lot since the very, very beginning. Before we dive into that though, let's talk about our sponsor for today's video. That's right, it's us. It's Crypto Junkie merch. We do, all jokes aside, we do have some t-shirts up for sale. You see this one is a little bit more form-fitted. Euro cut, whatever you want to call it. We've got these for sale. There'll be a link underneath the video. This design, the traditional Crypto Junkie design, and then a slightly wider fabric, not so tapered, and that's the blue and pink design. So those are all available now. We've got hoodies dropping soon, we've got shorts dropping soon, and some new fresh t-shirt designs. So check that out underneath, and that way you can purchase now and also be updated as we roll out those new designs. All right, so let's dive into portfolio. If you think back to the very first video I shot, when we're talking about like BitConnect and mining and a bunch of stuff that worked back then, had a very limited window of opportunity, and then completely shut down and had more losers than winners, right? And back then, I was fully all in on crypto. I think it was the second portfolio video I shot. That's when I started getting into gold and started diversifying into that, whereas now you'll notice that the percentages are much different. So what is my primary focus now? And we're gonna talk through all that, specifically how I feel about hyperinflation and really how to best protect yourself against it. Because now I've got more time in the markets, and I've done a lot more research, and my viewpoints have changed and shifted dramatically. So take a look at what it is now, the breakdown. We got crypto is 60%, and we got gold, silver, mostly gold, 30%, and then we'll call this, okay, take a look at that. All right, so it's changed dramatically. I believe I was, for the most part, not really breaking it down this way. I was 5 to 10% gold before, gold, silver, and then I didn't have this broken down as miscellaneous. And I'll explain what this means. But this is pretty much my have fun fund. This is what I used to experiment on stuff and do stupid shit with. Because we all have that, and instead of me trying to like change myself or fix myself, I'd rather just allocate a small amount to experimental stuff and see how that goes. This also too is my personal allocation. Crypto 60%, and what that mostly looks like is within crypto, we could talk about mining, we could talk about maybe investment funds, indexes, things like that, but a lot of it is just holding core coins that I believe in. And now I've merged, I don't have ICOs on their own, I have ICOs in with altcoins. I do have an index running with following the CCI 30, which is a top 30 index essentially. More information is in the Crypto Junkies members area. It's all talked about in the Discord. There's plenty of free information out there for you. You can run it by yourself, or you can run it off the Hashbot. So I run a crypto index. I am holding Bitcoin predominantly, which I think is the most important asset to hold in this crypto category right now. Then I do allocate towards altcoins and ICOs that I think will pop, and those are based off of different style windows. So like a 6-month window, 12-month, and 18-month window is how I have those broken down, and that's all eating up this 60%. So let's talk about Bitcoin and why it's essential to hold this. Okay, let me give you some info on this. Let me just break it down over here. Okay, 21 million total supply. It's thought that Satoshi had 1 million. That is actually been taken off of this as lost. We have on record 850,000 and another 700,000 lost. So this number becomes infinitely smaller. I believe we have 17 million right now mined. There's only 271 or 273,000 wallets. I believe it's 271,000 wallets or addresses that have one or more BTC. This overall supply with everything active in the streets, in the market right now, is not even as large as LA County. Big deal. So there's not enough to go around. Right now we only have 270, let's just call it 271,000. I believe that was my number. I've given that out to you guys quite a bit. I'm just kind of muddying it up, I guess, at the moment. 271,000 addresses with one or more Bitcoin in it. Huge difference, right? Like there's such an inequality of the spread of Bitcoin, right? Also too, a couple other things to note is 2020 is the next halving. So it'll go down from 12.5 per block to 6.22, I think, as the mining reward. So that plays into supply and demand. It should drive the cost up. you can assume that the cost of Bitcoin will go up because of this halving in 2020. So even if we're still struggling by 2020, which I know is 2 years away, you can assume that we'll get a big price pump around there. Next thing I want to note, and I've been noting this more and more, is that the agreed base cost for mining is $4,000 to $5,000 based on, right now 51% of the mining is done through China, and so this number is based on not my own data, but the agreed upon general consensus for how much it costs to mine Bitcoin, which is why the dollar argument, it goes down to zero, goes down to nothing, is bullshit. Because it can't go down and stay down lower than its base mining cost for very long. More miners run out, drives the price up, more miners come back in. Like, that's how the supply and demand equation works, okay? Those are the fun facts on Bitcoin, specifically, not crypto, but Bitcoin. So this is important to note, because one of my goals, just to be clear, turned into, let me just accumulate as much Bitcoin as I possibly can. I remember talking last year, I had a goal of just getting 10 Bitcoin and then 100 Bitcoin. That still hasn't changed. I want 100 Bitcoin. On my way to that, I'm not going to share exactly how much I have, honestly. But I think that's probably one of the core focuses that I have right now, outside of accumulating physical gold bullion. Now let's talk gold and silver and miscellaneous. Then I'm going to come back and talk about hyperinflation. I'm going to talk about ETNs, ETFs, and fake paper, crypto, commodities, etc. So gold, silver, the reason why I think that's a big play is the basement for gold and silver, or the base cost for mining, is $1,200. It dipped below that actually within the last couple weeks, which is huge. When the dollar is strong, usually gold is down. What makes this more likely is when global economies and global currencies are down. So when estimated retail money or retail numbers come in lower than expected in foreign currencies, usually their currency goes down a little bit or slumps for a day or two. Now, if all those coincide at the exact same time with the already ongoing existing manipulation happening in gold and silver, what we see is the price go down. This was the first time that touched since, I believe, January of 2017. I just shot another video. That'll be on the channel soon. You can get updated on those specific numbers. 30% here, because here's why I'm so nutty about gold and silver now more than ever. This sustains and really holds onto your purchasing power. There's a lot of skeptics, especially now more than ever with gold and silver, that the big question that they have is, okay, well, if gold and silver is such a store of value, then how come in 1997, 2006, 2009, gold, silver didn't go to the moon? My viewpoint is very different on gold and silver. I don't think it should or needs to or will go to the moon. I think the max potential on gold is about 10,000 and silver is 1,000, just to share with you. I think the point of it is to hold onto purchasing power. When there is a currency crisis, it will allow you to hold on to purchasing power. That's it, okay? So I look at these very, very differently. So these I look at will take over a lot of, let's say, hyperinflation event happens. These will take over a lot of the daily necessity needs that I have, and crypto will also fill the gap. I would not be using Bitcoin though. I'd be looking to use an altcoin, especially as we further unpeg from Bitcoin, the top coins. As soon, the more we see that, the more I'll be looking to use outside of Bitcoin. I want to hold Bitcoin. That's the point of that. Okay, so now I think that's well enough covered. Let's talk about miscellaneous. I believe that we all have like this spontaneity to be active, right? Like, man, I gotta be trading, I gotta be doing something. Otherwise I feel like I'm out of the loop and I'm not in the markets enough. I wanna try maybe these new things. I wanna try some mining opportunities over here. I've been doing all of that. TD Ameritrade, maybe I want to follow some people on, what is it, One Follower, One Fox, and I'll link them all underneath, but they're basically, you can follow somebody else's trades. They're like a social type platform that allows you to follow other people's trades. I believe eToro is like this too. Never been on eToro, but the other ones that I mentioned I am on, and I'll give my links underneath in the video, but that's what I use to kind of play around with. Maybe a new opportunities come from somebody that I met and they want to manage some money for me, then this is what I allocate this 10% to. And I really don't care what happens with this 10%. But that allows me to explore, and then based out of this, I can pull from this to make any changes here on these allocations, right? So that's it on that. Now, let's talk about hyperinflation. Let's talk about what could possibly happen there. Now, right now what I see is the people who are using leverage, the people that are on BitMEX and all the other crypto exchanges that are offering 100 times leverage, they are winning right now. The futures guys that are getting in on future contracts, playing the expiration dates, which is huge when a market cap like crypto is below 300 billion. I believe that that's a big sign, a big indicator that we're gonna be manipulated more. All right, so under 300 billion market cap, I think that it's wide open for manipulation. So what we've seen is a lot of price action sinking with the Bitcoin expiration, futures expiration dates. And I've got all that broken down. I'll link that below too. My TradingView account, you can give us a follow, but the actual dates are all broken down that have been published and that I could find, so you can see and kind of make your plan based on that. But right now I see crypto heavily manipulated, and here's what I think they're trying to do. They're trying to turn crypto into the next gold and silver. Here's how. They will approve ETFs, and they're trying to push for ETNs. All that is fake paper-based supply. What that does is that takes this 21 million, which is a limited supply, supply and demand works on this, and it takes that and stretches it into hundreds of millions, billions of supply, and completely f***s the whole thing. That's what we have going on in gold and silver. And that's why there's people that will tell you until they're blue in the face that there's been a 25-year or longer suppression and manipulation game going on with gold and silver. Gold and silver, there's a limited amount. There's 190,000 tons right now above ground of gold. Silver, I don't know. But there's not enough gold on this planet to go around. There's not enough silver on this planet to go around. Do the math on that, supply and demand equation, okay? So what they've done is they've stretched this supply by coming out with paper-based supply. Now, that's great right now, and I think there's a lot of people making a killing on that right now. But if we were to get into a deflationary event or hyperinflationary event, then what would happen is all those people who have paper and fake will lose to those who have real, okay? And I'll talk more about that in just a second, but the overall US dollar supply, I think, is a lot more than people realize. And there's a couple numbers floating around. I'm not gonna share them here because that would be wild conjecture and theory. I've got other videos I'm gonna break this down in, but if the overall supply of fiat was more than we thought, or it was exactly what we thought it was and what they're telling us, then as soon as people stop using the dollar and start sending that back, chickens come home to roost, as they say. So that supply is now open up in the streets. That is the start, and that is what starts to cause the hyperinflation event, okay? And I think we've been dodging that for probably the last 2 years, now that I know what I know. These mechanisms not only act as daily transactable assets or currencies, but they help protect me against a hyperinflation or deflationary event. Now, let's say the whole thing goes to and we get rid of currency, the fiat currencies completely, and we start over. What would happen? And this I want to really note and stress on is because it irritates me when I watch these videos and these guys, you know, they're pumping fear, and they get everybody all wound up and they give you jack shit about what to do. That irritates me because it proves two things. One, it proves that they haven't walked through that doorway and actually thought about what would actually happen, and so that they could concretely talk about, like, this is what the future potential would be. They don't do that, and so they fall victim to that, just going up to the door and then stopping. And also, too, it's not valuable. You can't present a problem to somebody without also presenting a solution. So, fiats go away. What would happen? Well, it would default, or it would go back to physical things of value that are owned, right? Makes sense. So that's why everyone, you know, gets all hardcore on the gold and silver bit. But it would also be land, it would be art, it would be any asset that is tangible, real, not paper, not 1,000 leverage, 100 leverage. It would be real tangible that is exchanged for value. All of it's a store of value to a degree, right? They're a little bit different, but that would be your crypto that you actually own, not your shorts, not your futures, not your ETFs, not your ETNs or whatever holds down the line, okay? And that would be your gold, silver, that would be your land, that would be, like I said, your artwork, things like that. So in that event, whoever owned the deed to the land, whoever actually had the piece of artwork and the ownership of the artwork in their hand, that would be the person who holds ultimately the value. And each country would be evaluated this way, and their overall worth would be calculated this way. The amount of land they own. So China having its hand in Australia and owning some of the water rights and some of the land. In the United States as well, owns a ton of land in California and throughout the United States and has different rights to different utilities. They own that. They would own that asset, and that would make their piggy bank, let's say, bigger. And that's what would happen. We would just divvy this up and then we'd roll out some sort of new currency. What would most likely happen in the beginning is the stability to it or what it would be pegged to or anchored to would be the tangible assets themselves. And we'd have to kind of restart that whole cycle through. So that's what it looks like, right? And it all makes perfect sense. So that's why I've made these changes. So I still got play money to go and do stupid shit with, or test new things out, test new people, new platforms out. And then I've got my core holdings here that I believe will always be a store of value and a usage of constant transacting currency, right? And that's where I think crypto really picks up the gap. So do I think that ETNs and ETFs will be approved? I actually do. I believe the hyperinflationary event is upon us. I believe it's going to happen. It's a miracle every day that the US dollar fiat machine keeps rolling. And so I feel strongly that event will happen and mess with and help reset, if they're already approved at that point, ETNs, ETFs. I believe ETNs and ETFs will go away for a while on gold and silver as well, but they'll reintroduce them as time goes on. And that's the cycle that we'll continue to go through. Same with crypto. I don't think that there's gonna be this big uprising and a bunch of people get smart and realize that it's stupid and all say no, and that somehow stops it. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it will get approved, but there'll be more retail money that gets involved in that than actual Bitcoin and crypto maximalists, let's call it, right? Gold and silver, yeah, same thing. You know, if it did go away, then there would be a small time that it did, and then it'd come back. So that's everything. I hope that really helps you guys make your decisions based on what I've learned. Like, if you've been on this channel since the beginning, you would know that, you know, we started out in a very different place than where I'm at now. And the more that I research and the more I fall in love with global economy and economics, then that alters my decision making, and that alters really what I'm willing to do with myself or any other money that I'm managing for somebody else. And this all affects it the more that I dig into this rabbit hole, and I absolutely love it. So hopefully this serves you in some sort of way. If so, if you like this, then go ahead and just click the like button below. Share your thoughts, what you're currently doing. I'd love to hear your split down in the comments section. If you think this will help a friend or a family member, just click the share button, get your link, maybe start it at a certain timestamp, and then send it over to them via email. I'd love to spread this message to as many people as possible. And if this is the first time you've gotten here, hopefully from one of those shared links, and you like what we're doing, then click the subscribe button and hit the bell notification so that you don't miss out on any future videos, because we've got some great stuff dropping for you soon, my friends. All right, that's it for now. Bye.